Oh, my bad. It's not on. There you go. So, just keep your mind open here. We're going to get a lot of volatility shakeout between now and next and NFP, which is sometime next week. And then after that, if nothing happens, you're going to see IV come off, you're going to see VIX come off, and 7,000, here we come. If none of that happens, and in fact we do have some major catalysts the market doesn't respond well to those, then we're going to start taking out the lower prices very quickly. So I think the coil has been tightened now for so many days that eventually we're going to have an expansion phase. So yeah, what's up YouTube? How's it going? We have the S&P at 68.43. Nasdaq is chilling right here, already out of the gate. Oh, that does that again. I need to mute that for a second. Yesterday on the Nasdaq, I mean, it was absolutely awful session. One of my least favorite sessions of yesterday. In fact, I ended up taking a loss on my TPT account. I locked out my top step and my BKR, of course, for green, but I ended up taking a loss on TPT in the afternoon simply because the market wasn't necessarily performing the way I hoped, and they had a 3C breakdown on me. So it wasn't a very good session. S&P did plummet, not as aggressively as I thought, considering we had almost 7 billion negative delta. And then the S&P did drop, but not really as aggressive. And I think a lot of that has to do with the craziness here of the S&P. Nasdaq's coming down again. We're looking for overnight lows of 614 or so. Nice little red candles. How's everybody on YouTube going? Man, I miss 2022 energy of FOMC. Nasdaq's coming down 25,624. ES is 68.40 and dropping. VIX is up to 17.43 right here. I got to put that back up in my... We have liquidity down to 25,562. By the way, I've got my book map reinstalled, so we're good to go there. Hope you had a fantastic evening. I sure did, man. We almost got myself a 10-pointer. I was going to get myself a deer. The daily chart looks a wee bit different on the Nasdaq and the S&P. The S&P looks far more bearish than the Nasdaq, simply because ES has already taken out lows, and Nasdaq is getting ready to catch up to that. If we can drop under 561 or so, it'll catch up to the bearishness of the S&P chart, and it'll be full correlation to bearishness here. So we'll see. What's up, Hassan? Will, good morning. I'm already up a considerable amount of my Top Step account this morning. I'm debating go ahead and locking that baby out, but we will see. Went and saw a Christmas show with the old lady. Nice. Well done. Well done. 25,617. We have put buying. We have call selling at the moment. Not a lot, but a little. What'd you take this morning? Gold long. I longed 3 mini golds right at this 3C right here. It was fantastic. Had a little retest, extraordinary volume, and I literally said, I'm putting this position on and I'm taking my hands off. And I did it. So it's not easy to do that with gold, but I trusted the process. I trusted the 3Cs, which I tried to do as much as I can, and it paid off, baby. It paid off. 3Cs. Trade it or continue to lose money. 25,626 Nasdaq, a little bit of a bottom wick. ES is 68.40. $25,562. Nasty 4-hour chart. Did I hit the gold short? Negative. I took the gold long this morning. I couldn't sleep 3 days in a row now. I can't really sleep a lot. I don't know why. So I was up early and I saw that 3C gold long. Stuck in here to see if anybody was here, but nobody was really talking. So I posted the setup, and that was it. But gold long, baby. Gold long. Haven't touched anything else, though. That's it. That's it. Worked on a YouTube video and did some research based on what I'm looking for into the beginning of 2026. It's been a good morning. Nasdaq's coming off still 25,600. We're coming on down to a multi-day low right here at 68.35. I'd anticipate a little bit lower price than that on the S&P here. Nasdaq has a little bit ways to go to match the correlating level of 25,556. We have a tremendous amount of put buying, call selling, just like yesterday on repeat, and further coming on down. There we go, 25,600. Dropping. Beautiful moves. All the way down. So once again, Linda Raschke rules play out. We had a little red move into close. And here we are with the red move down. 25,661. We're coming off about 80 points on NASDAQ. Extended green candles. Dropping big time. 576. We're coming on down to 564 right here on NASDAQ. That's a volume spike right there. Still dropping. We're going to see what they want to do with this move. $25,569,570. We have 562 liquidity right there, which will be nice support if they come on down. Still dropping. We have crude oil inventories in 53 minutes. And FOMC, of course, is later this evening. Nice little hammer candle, NASDAQ. We'll see if that's going to be our long trigger. We have volume. We have a small bottom wick forming on the 1. We need it on the 5. And, of course, we need a higher high, which would be a great pull if we get it. There we go. Beautiful. Volume 562, 597, 600. Give me 620. Give me 620. 600. 351 put selling. That's a delta of 170 million. There's 606. 298. That's 300 delta. IV dropped. There's a contraction of volatility. There's 610. Clearing over the highs. There's 620. That's got a trend line touch, but a little bit of momentum here. Beautiful risk reward, and I'm taking it. Close. All right, good. Right at 620. I'll take 80 points. And now I'm locking my top step. Close that out. Am I going to live stream FOMC? Yes, I'll be streaming pretty much the entire session. Today. All right, now I'm going to open up my TPT, get that cranking, and my next trade will be on TPT if I can get another one. I just don't have the mental capacity to multiple brokerages on that, so forgive me. So we had a whole correlation there. We had a nice little drop on volatility, top tick on VIX. We had a 250 million change in puts. We had a tremendous amount of volume. We had a bottom wick. We had everything there. So easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? That's all you got to do. Quick trade and lock it up. Oh. Ain't nothing but a G thing, baby. Yeah. The GOAT. We're all the GOAT together, baby. First trade since I got back. Heck yeah, baby. Nice, Dan. I've been listening to the Rogan episode with Jensen Hung. Crazy story. I haven't listened to that one yet. I need to. Highly recommend. Yeah. Prop for the day met. So I was thinking about someone's comment yesterday that the streams have been a little quiet lately, and I think what I need to do is ramp up the stream. I need to have a camera. I need to have more of a show more than just sitting here yapping. I think 2026 is going to be my New Year's resolution is to create a whole show atmosphere, a little more entertainment atmosphere in addition to the knowledge. Make it more of a interactive thing. We'll see. No, it won't be fluff. It'll just be an experience, more of an experience, more of an experience. Change it up a little bit. Like Patrick, not as vulgar though. I mean, you got to learn. I mean, you got to hand it to the guy. The guy's an extraordinary marketer, just not as vulgar, you know. So exactly. Get myself a mug. So we don't need no stinking entertainment. Yeah, yeah. Get some chicks behind me holding up like cards like a boxing match. Get the missus to walk by. Please don't be Patrick. No, no. So. Will it be daily? No, I mean it'll still be the same schedule. I have to hold back some free streams, some streams for the Discord community. But yeah, wearing a pilot helmet. Yeah, buddy. All right, VIX is holding ES at 68.42. A little bit of a bounce-a-roni. Beautiful tap into yesterday's liquidity. 3 times tap. Extraordinary. Location of the 4th C is crucial in decision making. Crucial. And I loved it. Took it off the 2-second deviation, 5 points. Ninjarenko. Nice. Your GameStop calls are almost back. Love it. Love what you're doing presently. I love what you being here, Phil. Thank you. Here's what I recommend you do today. Be proactive. Be proactive. Learn the things, of course, we'll talk about them on stream, but you do your due diligence here too. Figure out where the market is going to go in the event that we expand, which we probably will. It won't be that big of a move. It's not going. I don't think it'll be anything like 2022 or something crazy. But think about if we expand, where we're going to go, and do your due diligence with liquidity. Right now, we have a couple of obvious pivots. We've got here, which is an obvious liquidity pivot, and we have these 4 below that are obvious liquidity pivots. And that is not even including this nonsense. And if you run a wide, there's shaded blocks all over my freaking chart. It's because we've had this absolute garbage dumpster fire price action now since going back of November 26th. It's awful. I don't recommend even participating in this much at all. It's just this is some of the worst price action we've had in a long time. However, it's giving us very clear pivots to the downside and to the north side. So do your due diligence. What I don't want to see you do is, FOMC starts getting away from us, plummets 200 points down into this 428, and you start shorting, and then you get crammed down your throat. And you wonder, why the heck was I shorting into a major obvious weekly pivot? So just make sure that you're putting on these obvious liquidity zones. So what you're seeing now is what you usually do on Discord. Yes, plus in addition, more posting and interactions and stuff like that. How do you join? Go to theoptionsmillionaire.com, select whichever plan. There's 2 different plans to choose from, and then shoot me a DM in Discord, and I'll get you all linked up. But I appreciate you. Do I still use VWAP? Negative. Negative. 650 here. We're still coming up. My 5 key on my numpad is a little sticky. I have to click it a few times to get it to work. But if you look at the options have drastically changed. From 488 to 81 million puts, and then they have rocketed to 600 million calls purchased. So very bullish on that bounce. Extraordinary. Extraordinary. That puts my win rate on the week at 91% on Top Step. Very few entries, very accurate entries. Why is it sticky? You're pointing to your wife. Oh my gosh. Oh man. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Quick question. That NASDAQ long you did front run as soon as you saw the volume coming in. No, not a front run. I did play it a little more aggressively, but I didn't front. Well, I guess you could call it. I did front run the entire 3C, so I didn't wait for the 3rd C. I took the volume and I took the bottom wick because we were at location. I was willing to put on the risk of a 10-point or 15-point drawdown into location with the price action out, with the volatility flux I was seeing, with the puts I was seeing, and at the location I decided to take a 2C setup, not a 3rd C, and it worked out pretty well. Not to mention overextended red move that was needed to be bounced. Running late. The old man dog wanted to sleep in. There you go. Hey, how'd the shooting go? You're welcome, AR. Good question, buddy. Bottom wick is still holding nicely, sweeping bottom wick right into liquidity. And you see this. In fact, what I'm going to do here, since this is a 1, 2, 3, 4 cuatro, maybe almost a cinco touch, I'm going to change the color of this to yellow because I think this is going to break next time it's tested. And I don't want to get caught trying to buy that again. So I'm going to change that to yellow and put a little liquidity on there to identify that there's weakening liquidity. Every time it taps, it weakens, and that's a 4 pretty intense liquidity draw too. We're not talking about small bounces. We're talking about 4 good sweeping liquidity draws off that move. So the next time, the 5th time, I would expect either a breakage or a weaker bounce, and then of course the 6th time I would expect absorption action, and then shift on down to the next liquidity, which is in the 500s. So I'm going to be very much aware of this liquidity block right here. But it was pinging targets at 500 meters. Then we just blasted a few rounds to go. Oh, nice. Yeah. Heck yeah, buddy. That's beautiful. Extraordinary. It's always a good time to get behind a rifle. Beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff. Still going 671. I'm going to flip over to gold. Gold is still right here in the middle. This is the long I played this morning right here at 42.20. And now they're just kind of stuck. But gold is in its range as its own. Here's their liquidity. Yes. Let's go take a look. NVIDIA. Not looking all that great. Microsoft is getting wrecked. Microsoft got dumped today, big time. They're down almost 2.5. Apple starting to bounce. Amazon bounced. Avgo is bouncing. Meta pumped and dumped. Google flat. Tesla coming on down. Microsoft is a big loser of the day. XLF continues to get beaten down. If you notice, JP Morgan yesterday dumped 4%. In fact, they're still dropping. It's the largest drop since April on JP Morgan because they came out and said the consumer looks very weak. And of course, the biggest bank in the world, when they start saying that, you have to take heed. So from 318 all the way down now to 298 on JP Morgan. They're down almost 6% in 2 days. Here's NASDAQ. I'm happy to be back. I retired from my job Friday. Goal is to make 1 trade today. 5. Nice. 0.5% growth on my account. Nice, Siren. How you doing? Very cool. Do you retire because of trading? You retire because of you hit that age or what? Other successes? Congratulations. Keep that mind sharp. Keep that mind sharp. Can't tell you how many people I've seen retire and they're dead within 3 months because they don't use their mind. A little bit of red coming back down here. Yeah, keep moving. 25,635 dropping back over. I'm not playing the short position here. Top wick on the 5. We have volume on that. For some, it's the hardest thing you'll ever do is retire. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. A little bit of a top wick. Puts look like they're shifting. Yeah, I mean, puts have gone to 85 mil right here. 85 mil. Beautiful sweeping top wick so far forming. Trying to keep my dad moving. He's in a spot where he's still good, but better do something quick to keep him busy. Yep. Moving to South America. I'm 37, 100% disabled vet. My 401k is looking good. Nice. South America. What's bringing you down there? Women, drugs, family? Huh. Nice. I don't think OM's a legit trader. Bruh. I ain't never seen this dude take a trade, just get on here to yap about nonsense and say there's no trades. Interesting. Well, hey, say hi to your mom for me from your basement. Get the passport. That's right. If TPT tries to take a trade in a group trade, it says I'm not permitted to use bracket type orders. ATM is off. I don't understand. Not letting me trade. I don't know. I don't do bracket orders. 25630 dropping back over. We have put. Right now it's about neutral. Not a lot of activity in puts whatsoever. We have call buying 463 million. We have one beautiful 3C long. This one is shifting over, but kind of weak here. But I'm always a little cautious going to FOMC. So we'll see what happens. The bracket order is Frumple, up above. Up above. It's 25628. There we go. Double top wicks NASDAQ. Not too much volume on this move. We have a clear bottom wick, or I'm sorry, top wick, and we just cleared a lower low. Down to about 600 here. So again, the market's not pricing in too much movement. We have the VIX is still hanging out at green, but overall, the market's definitely picked its range, and I don't see it breaking anytime soon up until FOMC, of course. It'll be post-event. That's where you need to be a little uncensored. You know, time to be here. You know, I have learned that the degenerates online are just not worth engaging with. They're just, everyone's got something to say. Everyone thinks they're big and bad. Everyone's got ego. You know, obviously I can't defend myself physically because I'm on the internet and they're keyboard warriors, and just dealing with children after the things I've accomplished in life is just not worth my time or effort. So because I'm bald, yeah. All I know is that these degenerates will never say anything to you in person. Never. Never. Not one person will ever say a word in person, but because they're behind their keyboard, they'll yap and yap and yap their nonsense. It's 25,620 top wick on NASDAQ. ES is 68.45 top wick. Nothing else. One trade, that's it for me so far. We'll see. We'll see. Apologize for the degeneracy on YouTube. Sometimes we get these children. Does this look like an arrange to you? Yeah, so far, yeah. 100%. 100%. But again, remember, I changed this liquidity block here to yellow to signify the fact that most likely we're going to sweep this liquidity and move down into the 500s on an additional test. So we've already played one long off of it after 5 attempts. Well, will be the 5th attempt. So you got to play more cautiously every time you induce liquidity or you test liquidity into this area. We could show this price action's distribution accumulation just complete. Well, there's an argument for both. I mean, they're selling every rip, they're buying every dip the past 2 weeks. So, you know, I'm not going to fault anyone for thinking that this is accumulation to the upside, but at the same time, they are selling everything. So I'm trying to be as neutral as I can going into this because I know that if all of this data turns into just a non-event, then this thing's going to blast simply because the volatility is going to come off and we're going to have nothing stopping the bulls from reattacking all-time highs. Now, the flip side of that coin is that if all of these 3 data points coming out the next 2 weeks are in fact shakers, then yeah, we'll put on a significant move down. So I guarantee it's because you're not live streaming, you pressing the order button and managing the trades like a call-out server. I watched that Rips dude since he's before your stream. Yeah, I can engage. I've made a phenomenal amount of money this week. I could defend myself, but what's the point? What's the point? The weeks that I lose, I could show that. The weeks I win, I could show that. But what's the point? There's always going to be someone who yap their freaking gums. So someone always with an ego who wants to measure eggplants. It's just not worth it to me, dude. I've made 30 grand this week. It doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't help you to know how much money I've made. It doesn't matter. I could care less. I could care less. Learn how you achieve it. Exactly. Exactly. I think the MMs made all their money earlier this year when the market was a cakewalk. Well, there's a lot to that. That's a great argument for this price action. So. Oh, man. Another 15-minute bottom wick to result in a doji. YouTube freeloaders are here for the wrong reasons. They want to call it server. They don't want to learn nothing. That's right. That's right. Not answering questions on Twinkies. Yeah. $42.22 gold. We did have a decent amount of volume there. Which candle? Still nothing worth really playing there. 68.50. What are we looking at in your chart? What time frame are you using? I'm looking for opportunities here. Like I said, I don't see much for a follow-on trade for me, but right here is a 60-minute chart, and you see that the whole environment is just liquidity strapped. There's not a lot to induce flows one way or another, and I'm at the moment I'm not looking to do all that much into FOMC. It's the after FOMC that where I make the majority of my plays on a day like today. So as you can see, we've already tested this 28,585 area. There's still a lot of unspent liquidity to the top side. And my case for bullishness into the afternoon is the fact that we haven't retested 840 now in a couple of sessions, and it's leaving a lot of untested liquidity to the north side. So if they defend this 560 here, then I could see them grabbing that 840 by the end of the day, 840, 850. So the bulls are on the clock here to get something done. Of course, you know, the shakeout of the catalyst, but we have a lot of untapped liquidity that remains to be tested, even though we're testing lower liquidity over and over and over and over again, which means that they're reloading. The bulls reload every time we tap this liquidity, and if they don't flush it, then it's gonna be a bounce move. I've been in a few groups, and you're a very good teacher. Thanks, Craig. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. I do this thing where I should lock my account because I have good profits, and then I say, let's go take one more trade. 9 out of 10 times to jack it up. So the new rule of I think should I lock it up? I hit my TP and unlock it. 100%. Every time I have that feeling I need to lock up my profits, I do it. It's because of that exact reason. Nothing good comes out of overtrading. Period. Gold's bouncing up right here. We have an 89% probability of a 25 basis points cut today. I'm very curious to hear what he's going to say, especially I'm sure he's going to get comments on the Fed chair replacement, but right here. Sorry if it's too intrusive, but how much percentage-wise of the 5-figure gains this week was options on IBKR versus props? 11 of that was on IBKR. The rest was on props. I made, here, I'll show you. On Top Step, 10,900 was on my Express account for Top Step. And the rest was combined. The IBKR was 11, and the rest was on TPT. Simply because I don't play very aggressive on TPT. Like literally right now, I'm about to request a $400 payout on TPT. I don't do a lot. So here's my P&L on for these past 3 days on Top Step. I don't do a lot on TLT or TPT. I'm doing multiple accounts. $300 to $500 a day is my goal, and I lock it down. That's it. Sometimes less. Heck, if I make $100, that's still 5 accounts. That's $500. So I use my Top Step to be aggressive. I use my IBKR for more aggressive, high quality setups, and I use TPT for low cut for like decent scalping, just small potatoes. That's all I'm looking for. So. What are we looking at? I think we're going to play around the current range for now, jump at the announcement and drop from there where Powell starts whining about being cautious on future cuts. Yeah, that's about right. I would say that's pretty accurate. I don't expect, like I said, I'm not really looking for crazy action here. So I'm not really looking for a big move. We are, of course, going to get some volatility shakeout, but it's not going to be like 2022 unless he comes out and just says something that's completely ridiculous, which I don't think is going to happen. Sorry. Long time listener, YouTube first time typer. Love your channel. Keep it up. Much obliged. Thanks for the hard work. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it, Yeti. Thanks for being here, buddy. On average, what's your contract sizing rules? Between 3 to 5 minis is my normal position size for Top Step. If it's low confident, I'm doing 1 to 2 minis. If it's high confidence, it's 3 to 5 on ES. On NASDAQ, I'm doing no more than 3. So 3 to 5 on ES and no more than 3 on NASDAQ. That's the way I play it. And I usually, a really good day for me on Top Step normally is between the $3,000 to $4,000 range, and the average day is probably 1,500 to 1,800. Some every now and then I'll throw in a 5-figure single day on Top Step. Every now and then it happens. Not very often, but every now and then. And of course, the take losses too. What about TPT sizing? No more than 1 to 3. Like I said, my goal on TPT is to hit twice the buffer, and then after that, I am like small potatoes on TPT. The daily payouts, to me, I approach it differently. I'm grinding $100, $200, $300 per account, micros into 1 or 3 minis at the most, and that's all I'm doing. Period. I approach TPT differently. I'm not looking for the gigantic $100,000 wins. VIX is coming off. We have call buying, put selling. We have bottom wick galore. NASDAQ has come back top of the range. I'm not trading until after Papa J. Powell hangs up the mic. This week's been tough because I have so many doctor's appointments. There you go. It's a good idea. J. Powell's getting near the exit anyways compared to the last. Yeah, he is. Especially now that pretty much we know it's a Hessent is coming on. Oh, man. The gold trade today helped a lot of that. Gold's a fantastic trade. How long does it take me to pass my TPT eval? It depends. Sometimes I pass it in 5 days. Sometimes it takes me 15 days. It depends. Like I said, like I tell the community, I'm constantly buying evals on TPT. Just because I always have funded accounts waiting in the ranks. So even when I have my fundeds, when I take my final funded trade of the day, I lock those out. Quantower, you can't lock them out, but I just stop trading them. And I open up new evals, and I pass my evals, and I take time passing those. That way I always have funded accounts waiting for me. Because with TPT, you can only have 5 fundeds at the most. So if you pass an eval, it just puts it on hold. And if you blow a funded account, it allows you to go ahead and start that the next day on the pro account. So but with the trailing drawdown on TPT, you can't really be too aggressive because one false move and boom, you're done. That trailing drawdown can be very destructive, but you have to position yourselves appropriately. What is Quantower? Quantower is a rhythmic-based brokerage that you can use for rhythmic trades. That's what I use. It's the copy trader is insanely terrible, so I would not recommend the copy trader on Quantower, but the brokerage itself is pretty good. Pretty good. Whenever you're in a position playing the system as good as you see volume coming at the opposite side, you move the stop to profit. Whenever it breaks a structure of the market, I'm going to move my stop into profit. Like, for example, and here's, I know I've talked about this before, but When we bounce, let's say I didn't do it, but let's say I took a long position, and let's say I caught the exact bottom. You know, the market bounces. I need to decide when do I move my stop loss from stop loss territory into profit territory. Whenever it breaks the prior structure and holds, which in my opinion is the imbalance creation here, whenever it breaks that line and holds it, that's when I need to put my stop upwards. So it comes up, comes back down, it comes back up again. When it closes this candle right here at 10:05, it's time for me to move my stop loss up into profitable territory, at which point I would put it, somewhere up in this area. That way, because I know that if it breaks this structure, and then now it starts to accept lower prices again, you do not want to be in that trade. Now you're hopium. You've got a big old dose of hopium trying to hope it bounces. So I don't play on hope, I play on microstructure. So if it breaks highs and maintains highs, it is my job to remain in a long position. And then if it breaks this structure, then I'll move it up again. And if it breaks this structure, I'll move it up again. But if it breaks a higher high and then starts putting in lows again, you want to be out of that trade. The trade has broken down. Right here, it's still maintaining the higher high liquidity, which is this right here. Which is you're perfectly fine to still remain in a long position right now. This is an argument for it. But the second it gets under this, if you're a long from the bottom, you want to be out. And of course, quality of entry matters a lot too. If you're late to an entry, your stop losses you don't have the luxury of being in a high quality trailing stop position because you're in a late entry. So I blew my account on there 3 times because of the drawdown. Yeah, the drawdown is spicy. It's gotten me a few times, but you have to build small positions. Like if the second you try to leverage into a position, you're going to blow that trailing drawdown unless you're like precisely accurate. If you manage to put on 10 middies like at the exact formation of an advantageous wick, then you'll be fine. But the second that candle pumps and then retraces on you, you're going to blow the account. So you've got to use small position sizing. I've been looking at ATAS. Never used it. That more advanced trading, or should you start learning it earlier in a career? Are you talking about, what are you talking about? Routine. Quant Tower? No, it's good. It's a good platform. It's customizable. It's aesthetically pleasing. A lot of features. You can actually put their own version of Bookmap on there too. But when it comes to volume, man, like I would say 70% of the time, if you get an outlier volume spike, you have a quality entry that you can get in, as long as your position size enough to avoid drawdown. But you have to play the emotion sides. Like this 3C system legitimately is something that you can become very profitable with. Like it's really as simple as waiting for high volume inflows and identifying an entry. And as long as you position your size appropriately and you have the cojones to take a trade, you're going to be fine at least 60% of the time at the least. At least. And then the extra 40% of slop there is determined based on your emotional fortitude and how well you can identify a quality entry or liquidity sweep. So, y'all do with it with what you will. The harsh reality is the vast majority of people won't even be profitable because they can't control their emotions. They can't say no to themselves. Load a top wick, come back over. I've been looking for the 3C related stuff on your YouTube. Let me take a look. I'll get it for you. TPT has a worse support. Yeah, admittedly, the past 3 or 4 weeks, their support for some reason has taken a hit. Up until that point, they were pretty excellent. They're just in a bit of a downfall of their support at the moment, but they'll get back. I mean, remember a couple of summers ago, Top Step went through some growing pains, and their support was awful, and they got it back, so they'll come back. All right, they are buying back puts. See the blue line coming off here? So a little bit of put flow here. We're starting to trickle down just a touch. Again, I'm not really too quick to get into an entry today after the morning. I'm going to save a lot of powder for FOMC. How to get better at entries. I've always seemed to miss out on good entries by a few ticks. Okay, JDM. So find yourself 5 different names to trade. Thank you. ES and NASDAQ. You can even pick something other than those because most of the time ES and NASDAQ work in tandem. Most of the time. They do similar stuff. So if you miss an entry on NASDAQ, most likely you're going to miss the same entry on ES, whichever. So find like gold, oil, ES or NASDAQ. You could do silver, RTY, YM, all those names. 5 names. Track, firstly, zoom out and do the easy stuff. The stuff that anyone can do, which is plot supports and resistances, major ones, and then plot liquidity zones based on the liquidity wicks, the gatherings here that they put on the charts, and you plot those things. And then that's the easy stuff. You know, put alerts on them where you know what's happening. So you're sitting there, there's not much going on, you hear an alert, you go look at it, and you see a potential setup. And now you're going to look to the past to see what it's done before. You're going to look to the future to pick your targets out, and you're going to look at forward-looking data if you've got like order flow and you've got options chain. Set your risk, and every time I'm looking to take an entry, my question here, I ask myself, literally every single time I enter, I ask myself, what's the risk of me being wrong, and what's the probability of I'm being correct? And if the answer to myself is I am more likely to be right than I am wrong in my head, I'm taking that trade. And I put on the trade. And of course, everything is done in advance. I tell myself in advance, this is how many contracts I'm going to set. This is how much money I'm going to risk. This is the point on the chart at which I'm getting out. As long as you ask yourself and do those 3 things, set the trade, take your hands off. And you know what? That's trading to me. Defining the probability and the risk in your mind is trading. Anything other than that, and let me be honest with you, you're not trading, you're gambling. We call ourselves traders, but are you really traders? If you're not accounting for probability and risk, then you're not traders. You're a gambler. So account for those 3 things. Set the stupid trade. Set your stop and your profit target, and take your hands off the stupid mouse. And whatever happens, happens. If that makes you queasy to think about taking your hands off the mouse, then guess what? You need to size down. 1 mini, 5 micros, 3 micros, 1 micro, whatever. I've waited over 2 weeks for a response. Try their support email and hit them up again, and they'll get back to you eventually. How'd you do with all that hammer candle trade this night that you had planned out? Yep. So this morning, we knew this. I knew this liquidity block, and I knew we had liquidity test down here to 560. Not to mention, from an environment standpoint, we had a very prolonged drawdown that began at 8:30 Eastern time. That's 1 hour of selling. The market doesn't like to go too far too fast out of the gate. So when I see very quick precipitous selling in the first 15 minutes, my goal 90% of the time is to buy the dip. Very rarely am I looking to short after such an aggressive open like that, especially after an already prolonged sell-off. And that's just the way the order book works. That's a pattern thing. That's not a C3C thing. That's a pattern thing. The markets don't like to sell too far too aggressively, and most of the time, when it dumps like that, it's a liquidity sweep to bounce. So that's what I was looking for. We came into the location of prior liquidity here at 560. So 6 more points on NASDAQ, which is nothing, would have given me a super high quality entry, and I would have upped the sizing. But we had bottom wicks, the VIX started the top wick, we had the put started to sell off, we had volume come in, which was the final and main most confident indicator. I elected to take the entry. It bottom wicked right in liquidity, even if it went down another 10 points, I'm perfectly fine with that. And then up we go. It's a very quick and easy point. It's a momentum move. So you have to do your due diligence. Like if you want to know how to prepare for the session in the day, forget about news, forget about Twitter, forget about whatever it is you do in the morning to waste time, and go back and look at the chart. Do your due diligence to be a trader, and go back and look at prior liquidity imbalances. It's as simple as that. Trading shouldn't be all that difficult. It's just put the stupid trade on and take your hand off the mouse. Ego drives me insane, dude. There's very few things in life that piss me off very as quickly as ego. And trading is riddled with ego. MasterCard announces quarterly dividend $14 billion. No, quarterly dividend and $14 billion share repurchased. Interesting. MasterCard. Man. Couldn't be further from the truth. What's up? I have sized way down to 3 micros and I have a 100-point stop. It's been great open a position. You have a 100-point stop loss? 652 and testing my 1 hour. I mean, honestly, that sounds aggressive AER, but I bet you, as long as your entries are somewhat quality, that stop rarely gets tested. That sounds insane. 100-point stop loss sounds insane, but if I were to do a 100-point stop loss, I'd maybe less than 10% of the time, if I let it go to it, it would actually trigger. It's kind of like if you buy low enough, eventually it's going to bounce. If you short high enough, eventually it's going to top wick. The 5-minute chart on NASDAQ is atrocious. I'm glad I got my trade in early. Atrocious. Gold is putting on the 3C bottom wick here at 42.16. If we can take 23, it's going to go. ES, yeah. Yep, today's Bookmap Wednesday, so in 7 minutes I'll have to switch over. I was using minis with bad entries and kept losing my funding with $600 stop. At least I get 3 tries up with 50K accounts. There you go. There you go. What the crap? There's an app called Wiz, which is a Tinder for kids app. Congress must act now. This world is going to hell. I hope that's not true. Jeez Louise. All right, we have liquidity on the book, 25,625, but it's incredibly light. There ain't nothing here. ES, a little bit different story. 6820. 500, a lot of 500, near 600 lots at 6820. The bulk of my positioning will come roughly 2:45 Eastern Time, which I will be on live stream. So if you want to come join us again, please come hang out with us. I'll post the link a little bit before. Inner society will be from the phenomenon and pandemic of flavored Tide Pods. At this point, I think we need everyone to eat some Tide Pods. Gold's putting on a small little bounce here. If we can get over this imbalance, I would try to go for the 42.29. So that's a possibility here. That's the highest volume spike of the day, and it followed up with a secondary volume spike. The imbalance is right here. Yeah, I'll just use the horizontal line. Capture that, we could play along. I need to move back to Alaska. I mean, those little islands in Southeast Alaska to World War II bunker. Absolutely, man. Fishing for halibut and going moose hunting. That's what I'm telling about. What's your feeling about adding into trends on pullback if you see another 3C setup, or do you add or just move stop? I just move the stop. Yeah, traditionally I don't do well with scaling in additional contracts. I just don't. So I just elected not to do it. It's just part of my style. But there are people who are very successful with adding to it on a trend. Most of my trading has to do with reducing stress. If I find that if I reduce the amount of stress in my system, my profits inherently go up. If I chase the profits, my stress goes up, and then of course the profits will come back down. So, and adding to positions typically increases my stress. I try to keep as much stress out of my system as possible. Maybe that's the old me. I don't know. Maybe I'm an old guy. You young kids love stress. Not me. I want to sip a nice glass of milk. I want to sit out on my deck and look at the horizon. Watch the deer eat some grass. And try not to communicate with anyone under the age of 25. Because I don't want to get called bruh. How is halibut? It's amazing. It's extraordinary. My hand automatically goes into a fist every time I hear the word bruh. So it's just a reaction. It's a natural reaction. Did you get your first UNC yet? I don't know what that is. Did I get my first uncle? No, my uncle's dead. I don't know what you're talking about. I like to add to swing trades, but I don't do it. Yeah, I have added to swing trades before, definitely. If I continue to see the thesis play out that I want to, then I'll add to it. I'll add to a swing trade. What age rated, man? I'm almost 40. I'm almost 40. Unks are uncool. Eventually these kids are just going to take so many syllables out of the words, we're just going to be shouting sounds at each other. Not even full words. We're going to communicate in sounds. We're going backwards in evolution. My best swing of the year was UNH. UNH was a fantastic setup earlier this year. Definitely. Am I 40 yet? Negative. Almost. But not yet. Not too old to be called bruh. Have you kids told you that you have Riz yet? Negative. Negative. My kids aren't really on social media, so they don't participate in all the crazy vernacular, except what they get from school. All right, it is 10:30, 11:30 Eastern, or 10:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern, 11:30 Eastern. Holy crap, it's 9:30. I have to sign off and switch over to Bookmap. I'll post the links when I'm active. If you're on YouTube, you're going to see this stream shut off, and then you'll see another one pop right up. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get that notification. If you're in Discord, I will post a link when I am live. So give me about 30 seconds, and we'll be good to go. I'm out.